Good afternoon, everyone. Farmer protests EU escalating grain out. They realize it's all about the great taking, land going to be confiscated, but share of farms, 1 to 2 hectares, the normal in Europe, jumping up to Lake Garda. Vineyards close to there we visited, Dulce Vera, follows the same profile, under 5 acres, very small footprint on the land. The density of vines growing packed, far more than anything you see in the United States, stacked up, great use of land. These are the people they want to remove off the land. And in that same area, Roman era villas rediscovered. Verona, Italy, cultural layer built back upon after some mud flood, as well as digging out the remnants. Oh, what do we find? And if you haven't seen the latest in the EU farmer protests, now they're actually stopping trains on the tracks inbound from Ukraine, dumping the grain out, pulling the chutes, the levers, and the grain goes bye-bye, everything from corn to the wheat. In addition, French farmers building a wall around politicians, actually concreting them in. Brussels seeing the same exact action plan, lock them in their castles, because this is all about the great taking. It's about taking small farms and rewilding them, but leaving the large agribusiness in play, like we saw large box stores in play while mom and pop businesses closed down during COVID. So let's frame it first here. Distribution of EU farms, utilized agricultural area. You see the number of farms on the left. The green is the number of farms and the hectares that they are. That is a lion's share of, and that's the lion's share, up to 5 hectares. Now, for those of in America, 2.4 acres is a hectare. So we can get a glimpse there on 10 acres or under. But when we swing to the far right here, it's just a very small amount of farms comprising a large amount of acreage under production, which is large agribiz. The plan is to swing that green bar over to the far right, everything under the control and hands of a few companies, because looking into the small farms' role in the EU food system, and I tried to highlight that by doing it in a PDF, small farms accounted for 70% of global food production. But some studies question that and say, it's probably closer to 30%. But anyway, that's 30% of the population off the system because they can grow their own food. And this is a breakdown by percentages of farmlands in hectares in each individual nation. Across the EU, you can see it sits around 40% or so. Small farm holders below 2 hectares, that dark blue bar is where we want to focus, blue to orange. These are under the microscope to be taken away. This is why the new taxes regulations are swinging in to bankrupt these people and make it too expensive to do business in the farms. So we're focusing in on Italy, so I'll make that chart a little bit easier for you to read. These are the top descending. Malta, an enormous amount of farms below 2 hectares. Then we've got Cyprus, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Greece, and then we find Italy at the bottom. And anywhere in that 2 to 5 hectare range, orange, and 5 to 50, not so many, less than half. And that was the whole thing in the last couple of months of all these meetings that we kept hearing ad nauseum from Brussels to Basel. Oh, we need to include the small stakeholder in the farm. They have so much say in this new era we're moving into, stakeholder capitalism. Oh, we need to include them. Oh, wait, we need to take away their farms and then rewild it. And then what? So they can say one thing out of the side of their mouth, but they're doing something completely different. And this is why the farmers are protesting all across Europe. They're backed into a corner and they see it. Focusing on taking away small farms. 10 acres or under, 20 acres or under. That's the target. The Fed took the punch bowl away from the party again. The stock market's been betting on March rate cuts, but not so fast. Is this why JP Morgan and UBS are calling for a 23% drop in the S&P? The recession indicator's ringing its most severe alarm in 40 years. Call the proud Americans the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel. You're going to get some great in-class service. Also, Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. So I want to give you an idea here of what a small farm is. I'll let you make up your own mind. You see if they're damaging the environment, or if they're living in such a tremendously terrible way that they have to be removed. So we're going to start up at Lake Garda, Lago de Garda, as they would say, near Verona. This water body itself creates its own weather patterns, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But as we head out toward the vineyards, a little bit north of Verona, they found a cultural layer buried some feet deep of a previous villa where they were cultivating wine vines some 2,300 years prior. This was buried somehow. Now you could say, well, it was just dust blowing all. Well, nobody was living there. So what happened to people completely disappeared where their houses were covered and all we get is remnants of the floor. And it just happened that one of the small farms that I went to go visit, vineyard, was right in this area. So we stopped, took a few pictures. Now turning it into an archaeological site so you can visit. Verticulture, some 2,000 years museum is in the works here. And you can see the tiles in other parts of walls that were around with these villas, quote unquote. They're still trying to excavate and turn it into a cultural heritage site. So people can come, do some wine tasting, check out the vineyards, and then also visit some history. Speaking of which, Dulce Vera, and no, I'm not being paid anything by them. I just really enjoyed the small farm attitude, the holistic caretaking of the land, multi-generation family that was continuing traditions in the old style. And in the same way, with smaller land holdings, they were able to pack an enormous amount of vines in there. And I was just blown away on the production in such a small space. Everything in America is so spread out. So talking about small farms and small plots of land being used to cultivate. So please remember, 1 hectare is approximately 2.4 acres. So Campo Novo, that's 0.86 hectares. Now these are smaller types of plots that are being used to the maximum potential. But these are the targets of the EU renewal programs. And take a look at this image here. Look at the footprint on this. Do you think that they're scarring the earth to such the degree that they need to be put out of business and removed? I don't think so. This is what it looks like when you get on the ground. Cellar on the left, right there, yellow building. Small production, high quality. That's what I like too. They were targeting massive production. They were targeting highest quality output is what their focus was, but keeping the old traditions after 3 full generations continuing. And I support that kind of business. I truly do. And in the area around Dulce Vera, as we were walking up there, I wanted to go walk around and take a look at the vineyards because I knew they were about halfway up the mountain. But look how packed these are. You go comparison to other vineyards around the United States, this is tightly packed. I mean, look how close in this is, because apparently there's so much competition with the plants being stacked that closely that they put out a higher quality grape, but they don't give as much yield out of the grapes. A bit closer in for you. So there's several different styles of putting them on trellises or running them vertical. And here was one of my favorites, how they terrace them over so you could go underneath and also pick from beneath to the sides. Now, I would call that a very, very, very good use of the land, not wasteful at all, targeted and precision farming. And this is what the EU wants to get rid of. And since my farm in Tennessee also has some hills that I wanted to think about putting walls on to then terrace it and do some cultivation of blueberries in the terraces and currants, pink champagne currants. I'm always a fan of rock walls, so check a few of these out. Walking through the countryside, going from point A to point B. Now back to Lake Garda once more. And talking to Marco, who's now running the vineyard, he was telling me that there's a microclimate because of that lake being so close to the vineyards. But these last couple of years, they've been pelted with hail. I mean, ripping the vineyards to shreds. And this is rare. It's incredibly rare. But he was saying about 60 years ago, His grandfather told him that, yes, indeed, there was hail, that some events also ripped the vineyards apart for several years. So again, it might be some sort of 60-year on and off switch, but that microclimate is now being bent. And those of you looking for history, star forts, and mud flood, this fits right in here. I'm looking for these cultural layers anyway. And, I get all these things wrapped into one package in one place. So Verona over on the right, you can see along the river, it's even colored in red. But if you look at the, say, 4 to 5 o'clock position coming out of Lake Garda, there's a river, and in there was an island with a star fort city. Not as big as Verona, obviously, but let's say a town, guarding the river in and out of the entrance there. And that is 1574 from this map. And we fast forward to 1776, and that fort / small town is now coastal, or even parts of it are underwater. What was that massive cataclysmic change that occurred so quickly? And then we find this area higher up in the mountains also had deposition of land on top of it, dirt, for a better term, soil. So something happened in that time, 1574 to 1776. There was large changes, large. So if that were the case, then Lake Garda would have backflowed out, run up the river down to Verona, and sloshed a bunch of debris, if we're following the pattern here. And what do you see? This photo is from 1889. You see this wall along the river, and then there's another whole layer on top of it, obviously, which could not be removed. So what did they do? They built right on top. And we'll move in front of the Roman amphitheater just a little bit further downriver. This is 1893, after the excavation. So what do you see? I see the archways there completely removed. But if we compare it to the 1889 photo, that is full of debris. So you can see that something did deposit there. I'll put them side by side so you can see the before and after. There must have been enough of a workforce at that point with extra calories to start solving problems and removing this debris finally after X amount of years, 100, 150 years. But it took them that long to clean up from this mud flow or debris flow that had come down out of, that appears to be Lake Garda. Is that a cycle in itself? And is this why the world is suddenly being turned upside down? Because those that know this cycle is coming back again right now. Perhaps. But anyway, tell Marco I said hi. And if you visit the vineyard out there, give them a call, see what they have going on. It's more of an agri-business area where several of those vineyards are coming together, again, to host more agricultural tourism than it is just straight business. That's why I liked them so much. And anyway, a lot of history out there still to be found. The signs are all around us. I appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of the video. And speaking of the agriculture, it is time for planting. Coming up, spring's here. TrueLeafMarket.com, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. That link's in the description box below, along with tonight's images, stories, and links. Bye for now.